Hello, everyone. Welcome to a little bit of woo woo. This week, I'm doing my weekly predictions video where I tune into what you guys might want to know about. And I got a lot of really cool information this morning. So I'm recording this on April 26th at 9 a.m. Pacific. So that's when I'm delivering this information. It'll be up on YouTube probably a couple hours later. You know how they are. So I wanted to start by saying a lot of people are experiencing a lot of emotions right now. So tempers are flaring, things are hot. It may be in response to the eclipse a few weeks ago. I mean, even I've been going through it. I would just say be cautious and aware of using your words. And even when you're careful with what you say, it may get misconstrued or taken badly. So understand that, let's not grab our pitchforks right away. Try and have a little patience with yourself and with your community because a lot of things are going on for people. So the first thing people are asking about, I know a lot of you have asked me in the comments about the stock market and investment markets. And I will say, as a psychic, when you're getting information from spirit guides, they don't carry watches. So the most important information for most people investing isn't so much what's going to happen, but when. I can't really give you that, but I will give you some sort of general information that I was getting. I will also say, as a disclaimer, I would suggest working with a professional. I hate to be ageist, but I would say working with somebody with a little more maturity who's had experience with stock market crashes before and kind of knows what they look like, because there's been two in my lifetime, actually probably more than that, but two that I was aware of, the 2020, and then when the stock market crashed, I think it was 2008, and of course the one that happened in the .com in 2000. Talking to an investment professional who's been through that can kind of give you a sense of what to look for just before something like this happens. So keep that in mind. I did get some information on my guides on this, and what they have said is that there really aren't any safe investments. There's so much volatility that's going to happen as a result kind of the election, because the election officials, the administration wants to keep things calm as much as possible. So if things start to crash, they might buy stocks. The government buys stocks. I bet you guys didn't realize that. They also buy bonds, but everybody knows that. But just keep in mind that there is going to be some manipulation, some additional manipulation, more so than normal, until the election. After that, I think the house of cards might come down a little bit more. But having said that, doesn't mean it's going to go up. It's going to go up and down a lot. If you're someone who likes to trade on margins, just be aware that there will be more volatility within that game. And so I hope you understand how to play it really well before you jump into that water, because it can be very, very, very cold. So just keep that in mind. Again, back to the no safe investments. I was asking about bonds specifically, and they were saying up and down with the bonds too, and even today. So what I also was getting that is, if you have sort of if you can't sleep well at night rule, if your investments are keeping you up at night, maybe consider, just putting everything in T-bills and chilling. It's, as of today, it's like 5.5. It's not bad, right? Feel it out, but talk to an advisor first with this stuff, because there's money to be made, but there's also money to be lost. Overall, do I think the marketplace is going to go up or down? I think trajectory is actually going to be more downward later. I do see, just again, a ton of volatility in the summer. Having said that, it's going to go up. I do see a new all-time high coming. I also see some lows and some corrections. And basically the answer is it going to go up and down? Yes, it's going to go up and down. But be more aware. I think we all need to learn how this game is played, because most of us think we know, but we really don't. And I think all of us need to be better educated on how the stock market and the money flows work. But I will say it's probably being manipulated. The other thing I would say is the economy is actually worse than it appears. So if you're one of those people that's saying my business is down, but I keep hearing in the news everything's fine, you're not making it up. Things aren't as fine. And that's going to be a big deal within the battleground states in this election, which is why they keep trying to pass bills that handing money out to people. Understand that that's part of what's going on, but things are worse than they appear. And I think we'll start to see more of that towards the end of the summer and into next year. The other thing I was seeing is people are asking, and even I'm asking this, when is Powell going to lower the interest rates? I do think that is going to happen this year. And I think it will happen as a result of something that's behind the scenes. I see like black swan event, something that we are not being told about possibly a bank problem, maybe one of those too big to fail banks having a problem. But I do think that'll happen. Is it going to be 200 basis points? It could be, but I don't think it's going to be the 25 that people think it might be. I think it's going to be more significant than that. I'm not sure how much though. And definitely into the next year, because the housing market's going to be in even worse shape than it was. Inflation. Oh my goodness. That's a big one that's on the news all the time. Other than gas and car insurance and car repairs, I don't really see inflation within the food markets. Although the price of gas going up is going to affect the delivery costs of these products and will indirectly affect it. But I don't see eggs going up to what they did. Having said that, the price of gas going up, I do see that happening. I see it fluctuating a lot throughout the summer. I do see some organizations using the volatility in the Mideast as a profit-taking opportunity for them. I mean, surprise, surprise, I'm sure that you guys have figured out that happens. It is unfortunate because the price of gas really pulls money from the economy that it doesn't give back to the economy. So example, if you go into 7-Eleven and it costs you an extra $10 for a tank of gas, you're not going to go in there and get a Slurpee and some Funyuns, which are going to help pay for the salary of the employee who works there. That's how this is going to play out. So this will also affect the bond market, particularly in Japan, because Japan buys a lot of our treasuries and they can only pay for gas or fuel with dollars. That's how it's paid for. So if they have to sell our treasuries to buy gas to import into Japan, it's going to lower the value of those treasuries because a bunch of them can get dumped onto the market all at once. So this is why I'm saying it's going to be really volatile. You're going to need some intestinal fortitude if you're going to be looking at your things every day, because there'll be days probably when it'll be down 20% and there'll be maybe days where it's up 20%. Just again, going back to what makes you sleep well at night, figure that one out, because you don't need to be worried about these things, and make changes to make sure that you're not. So layoffs, I am seeing that happening a lot more. I think it's happened a lot more than we realize, but those numbers aren't showing up in the data yet because of severance pay, right? So if a big company, a tech company, has an employee who has a contract that gets 6 months of severance, that's not going to show up in the data for a while. I do see a lot more than we've been told. I do see a lot of them coming this summer, particularly within the auto industry, because people just aren't buying cars as much as they were before, and that's really going to hit these industries pretty hard. I also do see the airline industry taking some hits with this. Basically everyone. Will the number get up to 10%? I do think it will, like the 2008, 2009 is when I think it got to 10% unemployment. I think we'll see those numbers start to play in closer to the end of the year if it shows up this year at all. But I definitely see by 2025, we'll start to see 10% unemployment. Having said that, 90% of you guys are still going to have a job. So just be aware that this is going to be part of the narrative later, and also part of the narrative that we may not be being told about. We are hearing a lot of painting of rosy pictures because our officials want to get reelected. And I'm not saying things are all bad. I'm just saying be aware that what's going on beneath the surface may actually be more truthful than the headlines that sell news spots. So just pay attention and use your own intuition. So one of the things the guides were also saying is that it's important for you right now to do a lot of self-care, a lot of self-reflection. A lot of people are going to be shifting direction. A lot of people are going to be starting side hustles. I am a big fan of side hustles. I really would love everyone to do that. As a result of some of this economic uncertainty, this is good. What does your soul want to do? What kind of game does your soul want to play? Pay attention more to that and maybe there's a little bit of training. Don't spend a lot on this stuff, but training you can do or some research you can do to put yourself in a better position. I also see this summer a lot of protests. I mentioned this last week, but I'll mention it again because I do see the weather being part of it. I think it's going to be really hot this summer, and I do see some power outages this summer during times and places where it will be really hot and there'll be protests. I do see more protests around unhoused individuals feeling not treated with respect within the community. a lot of Middle East protests. A lot of these protests are going to get so large, they're going to be very disruptive, and we're going to see policy changes. I do even see elected officials going to more extreme measures to try and clear some of these protests out because they're blocking freeways and doing things that are very upsetting and disruptive to commerce, which is the last thing elected officials want in an election year. Also, I do see some black swan events in the Middle East. You already know that, things are not good there. I do see some surprises, some unexpected stuff that's not on my radar, but I'm being told it's going to affect the price of oil. Having said that, it's not like you can go to the store right now and fill up and just be okay for the summer, but understand that could be part of the game, which will affect prices and sort of financial stability throughout the summer. I do see a time after this where there will be peace and things will be relatively calm for a period of time. But in the summertime, I think we're going to be seeing some more difficulties. So the other thing that guides want you to consider is try to figure out how to do more with less with your coin. Try to figure out how to put one less thing in the shopping cart. I know that's actually going to make the economy a little bit worse if we all do that, which is why they keep telling us everything's fine. But start to be a little bit more careful with what you do and find ways to do self-care that don't cost a lot. And really look at all these like little monthly expenses that you have, all these little TV channels. Are you still actually watching them? So are you still actually watching Disney Plus? I don't know. Play around with it, but pay attention to it. The other thing I've gotten, I don't know whose question this was, but it was something about EVs. I'm being shown that the EV technology that we're kind of being handed isn't as good as what's coming, that there's new technology coming. I'm not saying don't buy one. If you want to buy one, just know, in a few years, and I think it'll be quite a few years, there will be a next thing. I think it's going to be hydrogen, actually. So if you're frustrated with this EV technology, they are working on something better. I do see it coming out of Japan, like Toyota or Honda or somebody's going to be releasing a car that is, I believe, hydrogen. I believe that's what it's going to be. I don't know if there might even be some stuff in the news about that. I haven't seen it though. That it'll be in the next 6 to 8 years, but we'll start to hear about it more and more as we might actually see some of these concept cars floating around. But this, I think, will be the next thing. I do eventually think they're going to give up on some of this EV stuff because at least the American market, it doesn't really want it. We've been seeing lots of problems. And unless it's a Tesla and you have a charger at your house, it has been terribly inconvenient. And us Americans are so patient. We love things that are inconvenient. Insert sarcasm. I'm sure we don't love things that are inconvenient. The last thing I will say, and I don't know whose guide, somebody's got a spirit guide that's really funny that has mentioned a couple of times about the cars, back to the car repairs. I mentioned this last week that there was going to be people getting much older cars repaired. I was actually hearing that people were going to be going to the shop and hearing about things broken that they didn't even know were parts on their car that could break because they've never kept a car that long before. So we are going to be more routinely seeing cars with 150, 175,000 miles on them on the roadways. And we're going to discover that a lot of cars that we've been driving and thinking couldn't go past 100,000 miles can go just fine past 100,000 miles. Maybe they cost a little bit more with repairs, but it's still cheaper than buying a new one. But having said that, if you want a new one, knock yourself out. I love new cars. Everybody does. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. And if there's information that you want on a future version of this, I'm going to try and do them every Friday because it's kind of fun for me. Put it in the comments. And also, I will say I've been wrong before. So especially when it comes to investments, use your own wisdom, talk to a professional, but understand that is really not my jam. And this is only for entertainment purposes. So anyway, happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bye.